and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 in red. The phenomenal riders in Category 1 move off from the start pens. It is the final wave away on qualifier race number 2 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. As we climb the hill here, the riders getting spread out across the slopes here, and the gaps between the riders will only magnify. This climb, it's steep, it levels a little, and then it rolls off and goes over the lake. And that's where Rebecca Johnson is, who is in the Category 2 race. Bergen, the rider we're in with Category 3, they're further down the road. They're at 23.4k, so they're heading in towards the Eichenberg Hill. In Category 4, well, already they're at 24.4.
They've got to make a decision. Either they've got to go hard off the front, or they've just got to stick with the group. And the group at the moment, everybody yo-yoing up and down. The 4 leading riders in Category 4, Alvarez, Vasquez, Bago and Idzik. They've just gone over the Eichenberg climb. The 4 of them riding very, very strongly together. Bergen, Estelle, Hill and Montoya. 4 riders at the front of the Category 3 race, and everyone now with 2 kilometres to go is thinking, how do I win this race? These riders in Category 4 really starting to move, but it's Catherine Montoya who's gone at 14 watts per kilo. Montoya in Category 3 has kicked. Philippa Hill is there as well. It's Hill and Montoya neck and neck. I think that was Hill who took that.
So hello and welcome to MyWhoosh, to the Sunday Race Club. It is qualifier race number 3 in July. The last chance for our riders to get both of their qualifying rides complete. My name's Matt Payne. I'm down here in the studios with Emma Martin. Emma, we saw an absolutely cracking race. We just saw some highlights of that earlier on. I'm really looking forward to today because we go to a very different race route with a very different parkour, which will suit different riders.
Yes, we do indeed. So last week in Belgium, it was Fuhr, Wagner, Hill and Idzik who took the top spot in each of those 4 categories. Today we are going to Colombia, and it is a very, very different course, and you can see that in front of you. So 35 kilometres of racing, 537 metres of climbing, and the first 21.9 kilometres, other than those bridges, Matt, are very, very flat. And then we start climbing. The Medellin City climb is the first climb that comes in this course. It's 5.5 kilometres long, and this is the steep one. It's just shy of 6%. Categorised as a Category 2 climb, we then transition over the flat, rolling, bumpy landscape of Colombia through the Amazon rainforest sprint onto the Bogota climb. Now, this one, if they are together, they normally stay together because it's 3.5 kilometres long with an average gradient of 2.9%. And that checkered flag comes 500 metres after the polka dot banner, signifying the end of the climbing segment. This is normally a fast race. 1 hour, 11 minutes our Category 1 riders took last time, and it was Fuhr, Bruni, Kolczynski, Holcroft and Bassoni on the top steps. Well, often a sprint finish as well. This is going to be exciting.
It will be, and how the riders treat that first section, that first 22 kilometres, will be instrumental in how long the race takes them, because there is so much distance to be covered on the flatlands. The first riders to hit those flatlands are our Category 4 riders. We have 11 nations represented. The team here, well, that is the Petite 4 squad. Natalie Idzik, Nikki Lloyd and Simone Francis must be earning themselves extra brownie points for being the ever-present team who are here. In fact, they have riders from Poland, the United Kingdom and Australia.
Now, my question is that a chocolate brownie or a alternative white chocolate blondie? Because, well, they're 15 seconds to go and they are down in the start pen waiting to go. So we're in with Kirchner at the moment as the final seconds tick down. These Category 4 riders will be away and up and out of the start pen. This is the final qualifier in July. So out of the start pen go Category 4 on the Sunday Race Club today. They're out and onto the course here on the Paso Alto in Colombia. As I said, it's the final qualifier in July. We go into the finals. It's a short month this month, just 3 qualifying races. Now, as we know, 2 qualifiers of verified rides to count to qualify for that final.
And the finals, of course, next week. And really looking forward to seeing what happens in those. All 4 categories racing in the finals. Teams will be in play as well there. So we're going to see riders, all our riders pretty much being part of a team, because they'll be looking to take away those team prizes as well as the individual prizes. And remember, of course, the prizes in the men's race and the women's race are equal.
Yeah, and that team competition, Matt, for me, always is the culmination of each month, because it does add another level of strategy to the racing.
It certainly does, and it's always interesting to see the movers and the shakers and who gets moved about, who maybe changes teams, who are the utterly loyal riders, like Natalia Idzik on the Petit Four squad. Good to see Natalia once again. We get to see her pretty much every week, I think, at the moment. It's really good because she's one of our real regular riders out on the course here, and a rider who we know can figure up there. In terms of results for Natalia, she's a rider who is always in the running. Is this a course you think that's going to suit Natalia? Is it her style? Because she's a really good. I always think of her as a rider who doesn't waste energy. She's sat in the draft. She's not losing ground. We're seeing the bunches on the road at the moment being distanced. I mean, it's like dot to dot at the moment on the radar view on the left-hand side. Idzik, though, absolutely nailing it, sitting in that lead bunch.
Well, Idzik for me is one of those riders who has been in the mix. She's been with us a long time, but she takes time away from racing as well. But she has been back and she has been on form in July. She took a 3rd place in Qualifier 1. She took a 1st place last week. It's going to be interesting, very different course today. We've been on the Outer Loop in Qualifier 1, Belgium in Qualifier 2. 2 quite fast finishing courses.
And the outer loop is basically flat, big mountain in the middle, flat at the end. We've got Belgium, which is just 4 really sharp, short climbs, which are really, really steep, real sprint climbs. And then we've got today with all of the climbing at the end of the stage, bar about 5 little bridges, which, they're a couple of meters high.
But interesting to see Kirsten Hamilton back on the race today. She's a rider who has been with us and been putting in some great performances. We've watched her progress since she's come into Category 4 and really learn how to race, and then progress to the top 5 and then progress to take a win. She's been away for a few weeks, and now it's great to see her back as well. And
she's in this leading group. We've got riders scattered down the course already. We're not even 2 kilometers into the race route, and already, we've been riding just over 3 minutes. Yeah. We've got riders distance. This is the pace. It's deceptive, isn't it, this course, because you have to sit in the draw. You have to try and shelter as much as you can. And Kirsten Hamilton in here, just seeing her on our screens as well. Good to see another of our riders on the screen as well as their avatar. Being able to shelter, being able to draft really does make the difference, doesn't it? Because you are going to save a lot of energy.
Yeah, you are. And it's looking like at the moment this Category 4 race is 2 groups now. The back group seeming to come together to form a community, which will be really helpful for them in terms of progressing. Then we've got this front group of around 15 riders, a couple of riders just distance. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to them as to whether this leading group is going to settle down and they're going to come back in, or whether this leading group is going to push on.
Well, we'll find out very shortly, but we're going to jump in with Category 3 now. So this is the first step up the ladder from Category 4. Now, teams in here, well, we talk about pretty much every president's teams. Grind My Gears are definitely one of the mainstays of the Category 3 racing, with Catherine Montoya, Noveline Kekkonen, Stefani Piccolo, all of which are consummate climbers. They've got Tanya Howeiler in there as well. They're up against people like Aline Francisco da Silva, a regular rider for the July team Golden Light. Yep. Again, another rider who could excel on this course. 12 nations in this, so one more nation than in Category 4. And maybe this is going to be a slightly different start. We're going to find out. It is qualifier race number 3. It is Category 3. Away we go, off onto the race route. Will they ride the same? Will this be the same blistering start that sees riders distance? What do you think, Emma?
Well, it's our biggest race field today, Matt. 31 riders on the start sheets here, and well, they're up to pace already. You said a blistering race start, 42 kilometres an hour within 100 metres. That's some kick and momentum from the line to get that speed up. But Beltran is here, Bergin is here, Estelle, Simkin, Turkova, Hill, Herrero, Elos, De Gracia, Jones. I could keep going. Alzat, Lopez, Vink, Hyde, Marin. These are really, really strong riders. And I think this is going to be a fiercely competitive race today in this category 3.
I can't wait to see what happens and whether anybody starts to break it up. I mean, we say there's no climbing, and there are literally just bridges on the way into the Medellin City climb.
Oh, they're punchy. But
the little bridges, those little kicks, just provide that little spurt. Just that little spike in effort that's required, and it can form a split. It's a bit like an echelon on a road race, or when you have maybe a bad change on a Madison on the track. It's not in itself normally something that's a game changer, but it changes the makeup every single time.
It does indeed, and you have to anticipate. You have to anticipate the changing gradient. Now, really interesting to see Alessandra Knowles on our screen, one of our returning riders week after week, and not just a great cyclist, but look at that artwork.
I am. I've got. If I get any closer to the screen, I'm going to be rubbing the screen with my nose. I love the one on the left-hand side. I think it was a feed station there with the riders crouched over the table. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much, Alexandra.
Multi-talented riders.
Yeah, not just for riding, but also showing us the different artwork every week. I absolutely love that. And thank you very much.
I'll tell you something that's really interesting. This start is different, very different from Category 4 as we're in with Montoya. She, for me, is one of my picks for today. No pressure, Catherine. But I think she will go really well today on this course. Now, she is on really, really good form as well, which is fabulous to see, second last week. But this pack still all together. So the 31 riders on the start sheets have come out of the start pens together. And unlike that Category 4 race, which split really, really quickly into multiple groups, this is one big rolling group of Category 3 women.
It is, and we're 1.6k in with 2 minutes 40 into the race already for our Category 3 riders who set off those 5 minutes behind Category 4. They are now at the moment on the way round, and at a similar stage, we were seeing groups all over the road in Category 4, not in Category 3. Category 3, I think it's the first step where we start to see that not cynical racing, but that closer packing together, less variation maybe in terms of how people are riding. And of course, we've got to remember Category 4. I mean, we've got brand new, super shiny new riders in here who maybe never have ridden on a race route before, maybe never even ridden outdoors before, as well as really, really experienced riders experiencing racing on MyWhoosh for the first time. It's brilliant to see.
Yeah, and also what we have is a really supportive community. I know for a fact that the riders in Category 4, we're in with Rasha Zidane at the moment, but the riders from Category 4 support each other. As new riders come into the Sunday Race Club and less experienced racers come into the Sunday Race Club in Category 4, how shall I put it? The more experienced Category 4 riders do a lot of hand-holding and motivation of those riders to continue to allow them to progress.
And progress they will, because when you jump on board and you ride, you're going to get better. It's just one of those things that always seems to happen. Now, if you do improve from Category 4 to 3, then you move up to Category 2. Now, no teams represented this week. That, of course, will change next week when we come through. It is the race field with the most nations in our women's race. 15 nations represented in our Category 2 race field.
Wow. So 15 nations, 27 riders today. 108 riders in total, if anybody's interested on the start sheet today, and they are pretty evenly spread. Category 3 being our largest, Category 2 and Category 4 pretty similar. Now, Svardström is here, so is Litton and Wagner, Davidson, Mabin, Prado, Pruitt, Montgomery, Walkenhurst, Kong, Hermansen, Smithers, Weston, Barragan, Lundin, Vittori, Sanchez, Whitelaw, McAlpine. Yes, that is nearly the whole list, because this is one packed field of riders as we're in with Dana Davison as she comes out the start pen at the head of the pack. But what a pack she is leading today.
And this course, this race route in category 2, I think of all the categories, I think this is the one where we find it closest in terms of the power, in terms of the ability, in terms of the riding style as well. And we've got so many strong riders. I mean, you could go for Serena Vittori, Stefania Sanchez as really good and probably almost specialist climbers in some ways. You've got people like Lam Kong, who's the rider who's, who has the best win record in something like Belgium. But this is a very different course. And yet we know she's going to be good on this course. But you've got riders like Prado, Jaramillo, Hadlock, Svartstrom, Lytton, Wagner. I mean, it is. You could just read the whole list, and they've all got their strengths.
They have indeed, and I think, as you can see, Julia Montgomery on our screen at the moment, part and parcel of that leading pack. For me, Category 2 is so close. Qualifier 1 this month, 36 seconds separated the top 7 riders. In the final in June, 46 seconds separated the top 2 teams. And bear in mind, that's 3 riders from each squad added together's combined times.
And that's going to put the pressure on our riders. Will Julia Montgomery be able to handle that pressure here today? We saw her there clearly watching. Good morning, good afternoon. I think it's pretty morning in Sweden still at the moment. And Montgomery, well, we will see if she's still smiling as much when we get to the top of our climb. Now, whilst our riders are up and underway, going to do a couple of quick bits of housekeeping for you here at the moment. One of which is to say, if you are at work on Tuesday, take some time off, maybe have a look. There's something far more important happening. We have our Flamme Rouge Racing World's Experience Race. So if you want to get a ride in on the Worlds, and we would love you to be there, on Tuesday, the 23rd of July. We'll do this in UTC, which is Universal Time Clock. So basically, what is known as Greenwich Mean Time in the UK. So at 9:30, 5:30, and at 23:30 UTC. All 3 stages of the World's course, the sprint stage, the strategist, and the all-out stages, all 3 stages, back-to-back, just like we're going to have in the World's finals. That is going to be taking place at the 3 time zones, so 9:30, 5:30, and 11:30 at night in UTC. That means that wherever you are in the world, there is somewhere, some time zone that should hopefully apply to you. We'd love you to come on. Now, even if you're not going to be a World's Challenger, if you, like me, would not maybe make the final, dive on board, come and ride. So if you're racing at the moment in Category 3 thinking, do you know what, I really fancy having a go on the World's course, I'm maybe not going to qualify for the nation, come on board. We'd love to see loads of people on there.
And you know what? It is great to jump on board, see what you can do on that course, then watch the World Championships, because it really gives you some perspective about just how phenomenal those at the top of the tree are. But you could be just as phenomenal too, because you never know. You might think, shall I, shan't I go for the open qualifiers?
Yep.
And the test event could be the thing that changes your mind and makes you go for the open qualifiers, and then you could be at that semi-final in September.
And it's very different racing. It's not a long race in some senses, in that you've got 3 short stages. But what you do have is you have something that's going to give every single one of our riders some benefit, if you like. There's one of those stages going to suit every single one of our riders. Now, the riders we do expect to see in the qualification for their nations, never mind the open qualifiers, are our Category 1 riders. I'm really looking forward to seeing them on the start list, and they'll be trying to get as much time on the course as well. On our course today, we have the peak performers, Amelia Van Hove and hill climb specialist Kristen Kolczynski. We have sweat sensations represented by Catherine Fuhr, Merle Bruni and Mina Coyson, all 3 regulars up at the top of the standings. And we have the Effetto skier squad with Kalman, Field, Bassoni and Giovanni, and Roberta Bassoni and Sophie Giovanni always excel on this course. This is a course that seems to suit them.
And it's really interesting to see Tilly Field join the Effetto skier, so that's a nice piece of recruitment there. As we sit in the start pen. The seconds are down. The go for green. And away go Category 1 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. New riders in the mix this week. Hamzen, the South African mountain biker, she is in here. Jen Reel from the USA. And Lucy Harris, often seen in red out on the UK roads for the Pro Noctis 200 Degree Coffee Squad.
Indeed. And then somebody who I'm sure we'll probably be talking about in a little while. Now, one of the riders I was talking about earlier on, Roberto Bassoni, is here. Now, Roberto, one of our great climbers. We know that on our real big climbs, things like the Jebel Hafid, the Jebel Yace, she's going to be riding strongly on there. Today, it's not as long, but it still, I think, tips into climber territory. Bassoni, though, maybe it's not been on as good a form as we've seen him before. Do you think this is a taper to come into the Worlds?
It's a really good question, isn't it? Back in June, so the last time we were on the Passo Alto for the women was Qualifier 2 in June, and Bassoni took 5th that day. Fua, Bruni, Korchinski, Holcroft, and Bassoni. You are right, Matt. She does perform well on these types of courses, but also, as you have just said, we are going to see our riders really start to plan their training and have that training planned for the semi-finals and the finals of the World Championships later this year.
Well, hopefully we're going to see Lucy Harris, the Pro Noctis rider from the UK, rider who I've had the pleasure of putting words to the action. As she's been racing around the National Criterium Series in the UK and on the Road Series as well. And that Pro Noctis squad, their main sponsor has decided that it's they're going to call it a day. They've had an amazing, successful 4 years, but they're now going to be looking for a sponsor. So if you fancy sponsoring the UK team, because I know the manager really well, Rick, please do get in touch. If you want to get in touch with me, I can put you in touch with Rick. They are on the hunt for a sponsor.
Well,
really nice squad, and one of those squads I think that are a mainstay of a development team for riders.
Well, you can say they're a development team, and they are a development team for riders. But also, last year, the winning female team on the Criterium Series, also at the Tour of Britain this year, phenomenal performances at the Tour of Britain.
Fantastic.
Really, really good. And interesting to see Catherine Fua. Now, for me, she's going to be one of those riders to watch at those semi-finals in September for the Worlds. She's got to be, if she is on form, one of the favourites. So Fua here today. She took the win here in June. Can she take the win on the Passo Alto today? Well, Van Hove, Harris, Holdcroft, Penner, Kolczynski, Bassoni, Larson are all going to be in that mix. Now, in the mix in Category 3, well, Nicola Turkova is the rider just off the back here, but Marin Montoya, Alzat de Silva are all in that group. So is Bergen. And it's 4 seconds back here. She's going to have to push on. I think she's going to make the back of this group, and she's going to stay in the mix. They're 8.5 kilometres into the course. They've gone through the Amazonian sprint. This is the Jungle Trek sprint that they're going through at the moment. They've just gone underneath the finish banner. And on that bottom left-hand corner of the screen, Matt, you can see they've already caught one of the back markers in the Category 4 race. That's that red jersey you can see behind the blue. And not too far up ahead really is the tail end of that Category 4 race.
And that is one of the things, isn't it? If you are a rider who has been distanced maybe by one of the early starting groups, you can try and hold on to one of the groups that are coming in and through. You can see here the Category 3 group all coming in together. We're just in with Novelin Kokonen at the moment, making our way in through this straight. And Novelin Kokonen, and we were just talking about the event on Tuesday that we'd love everybody to come and ride on. We're hopefully going to see people riding that. And, of course, the Open Qualifiers. All the details of the Open Qualifiers on the MyWhoosh.com website. I'm hoping we are going to see a field on the Open and trying to qualify for the nation as well.
I have to say she's already qualified.
Has she?
Yes, second in the Australian finals.
Of
Top
course.
2 go through for the National Federation.
Of course.
Well, Tillyfield up and in the mix of this bunch as they go across the water on the boardwalk. Sorry, Matt's just raised his hand in the studio.
I know. It's like,
yes, Matt.
Please,
what
miss,
can I
speak?
do for you?
Tilly feels qualified. That must be a great position for her to be in, because it means that she can now focus on riding the events, because she can still ride the events, even though she's pre-qualified now, to get that experience, and the pressure is off in terms of qualifying. That must be a great position for her to be in. I'd really love to know how she feels about that. That's going to be great.
Well, you know what your target is, don't you? You know what you're working for, and you know that that date on the 6th of September is the focus. You know, rather than having to qualify first. Well, Sarah London is in the mix there and a big push coming on. She'd just gone through, well, they've just gone through that first sprint, the Amazonian sprint in this Category 2 race. We've got a rider just distance off the back here. Actually, that's Vicky Whitelaw at the moment. So the push coming on, and yet another bridge here. And this is the tricky section. You can see actually on London's face how much of a kick you need to put in to stay with the group on these bridges. We keep talking about the fact that it's a fairly flat first 21 kilometres here. But these bridges, if you have ridden them, I have, they really do.
I agree.
They're really short, but they are sharp, and you really have to, with a group this size, time your effort and put a big dig in to stay with that group.
I think for me, it really typifies and shows two things. One, the difference between riding and racing it, because when you ride it, and they don't feel like much because you just tick your way over them. But when you're racing and you're on the limit, it's just that little difference that takes you over from being inside your limit to maybe over your limit.
And it changes your rhythm.
Yeah, which is good for some riders and bad for others. The other thing I think it shows is how accurate the percentage gradient is, and that real feel that you get when you're riding. Because when you go out and ride, if you go up a 5% hill, it doesn't half feel real. You know you're doing it. You know you've got, it's the gradient changes even a fraction of a percent, and that's exactly how it feels here. Because of course, all our riders on the Sunday Race Club and in all of the premium events on MyWhoosh, including those qualifiers, have to have the trainers set to a minimum of 50%.
They do indeed, and now we see the Category 1 riders just up and over the bridge here at 4.2 kilometres into the race. You can see a little bit of a stretch on the group and a little bit of a dig as we're watching Cornelia Engstrom here just to get back into the group. Catherine Fuhr coming on, Bassoni, Kolchinsky, Kasani, Field, Coyston and Larson, Van Hove. Menendez, Jacina Menendez put in a great race. It was great to see her back last week.
Yeah.
And in the mix in that women's race, coming in 5th place in Belgium. But really strong group this, and they are all still together, all clearing that first bridge. And you can see on the top right hand corner of your screen where we've got the profile of the course that those bridges do keep coming on this early section in Colombia.
And some of them are bigger than others, so you can't just think it's all going to be the same. You can see where we saw London reacting after we'd gone through the sprint last time. We're going into the sprint this time. And what we often see is we see that pace pick up. We see as Emma would say, the stretch coming on. And as the stretch goes on to the group, then the riders have to pick up the pace. Then you might find somebody who maybe didn't go through the sprint as quick. And it's just almost instinctive. Even if people aren't going for the sprint points and looking to get the green jersey of the sprint leader, which, you know, it's great bragging rights. Even if they're not going for that, the pace just does pick up. The group picks up and you've got to be with them. And if you get distance there, you then got to fight back, and it's all, you know, to use that cliche saying, you're burning matches and you've only got so many in that box before you run out.
Well, around 20 riders in this leading group in Category 2. Stretched a little now, as we can see on that bottom left-hand corner of the screen. The question is, are we going to see that split? As I'm speaking, it is splitting, or are we going to see it come back together again? And at the moment, I'm making a call for this to now become 3 groups on the road.
Okay, that's a bold prediction. I was going to make a really bold prediction earlier on, and I'm glad I didn't actually. So we will see which of us is right. There might be some private satisfaction here in the commentary box. My name is Matt Payne. I'm here with Emma Martin. We're bringing you all of the action here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club qualifier race number 3. Pressure on the riders at the moment as we go up here in with Ursula Kasani. As we go up over the bridge, just seeing 1 or 2 riders start to get pushed to the back of the group. You've got to react, and you've got to react fast. Getting the timing right, getting the feel for squeezing on, getting into the group. Absolutely key. Harris in here, Field in here, Kasani in here. We're in with Ursula Kasani in both avatar and in human form. On the left-hand side here, you can see the fan blowing as well. And that's going to be really key. Keeping your body temperature at something that you are very comfortable operating in. Really, really important. And how you deal with what is bound to be an increase in temperature from rest.
Well, they go underneath that green banner signifying the start of the Amazonian sprint. They are the last group to go through the first sprint of today. As they come round the corner and see the finish line of that section, we've got a little bit of a push on the front, but only just. So the pack really not responding to that sprint segment. Happy and content to roll through as a group. Well, it's going to be interesting to see. I have the results on my screen because the results are currently live and running on the MyWhoosh website. You can go to mywhoosh.com, and that's what I can see on my screen. The fact that Philippa Hill from Category 3 has set the fastest time through that first sprint today in 17.037 seconds. A little quicker, 0.2 of a second quicker than Molly Weston from Category 2. Then it is her teammates from Category 3, Herrero and Simpkin. Roberta Bassoni, the fastest Category 1 rider, going through just around half a second back. Alzat Category 3, Harris and Harmsen from Category 1. Goria from Category 2 and Knowles from Category 3 rounding out the top 10.
And interesting, it's two of our newer riders, Harris and Harmsen, who are the riders in Category 1 they're going through, which would indicate, judging by what we've seen before as well, that they were squeezing on in. Now we're in with Philippa Hill, the rider who had the fastest time through that sprint segment. She's got the green skin suit here. For those of you new, maybe to MyWhoosh, we award green skin suits, yellow skin suits, and polka dot skin suits for the various categories, very similar to the Tour de France. So basically, the yellow is the overall, the green for the sprint, the polka dot for the climbs, and our sprint leaders at the moment in the competition. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 points for each and every sprint, which is totaled up. Hill leading at the moment in Category 3. We've got Navies leading in Category 4. I think we are going to see an interesting battle between them, and it's a great way to practice your sprinting, isn't it? And to get that power down, because having that kick and that snap, really, really important. It's no good just being strong.
Well, it isn't. And as you said right at the top of the show, many different courses on MyWhoosh, many different courses on the Sunday Race Club. There is something for everyone. There are long, long climbs, which really suit those steady time trial type efforts. There are short, sharp snaps, which really suits
Yeah, that
really
suit
the power riders. Well, currently we're seeing the Category 1 riders power over the next bridge. 16 riders in that leading group at the moment. The green banner up ahead of them signifies the next sprint section. This is the Jungle Trek sprint, and they are about to go through with a little bit of a stretch on the group, and it's Van Hove, Pennis, Soderstrom and McCarthy. Koinstonen up the front, so is Fuhr and Larson. So interesting to see what this does to the group.
Now, last time through, the riders through so far, we saw Sarah London just after this section. She had chased her way through this section. She actually set the fastest time to date. Will Category 1 go faster? Will they put in a faster time? This snapshot that these sprint segments give us on the course really, really is telling us the story of this race and who is racing where and when. Now, starting to see, we've got Matilda Field, another, of our new riders up there with Harris in terms of riders. Holcroft just coming into the mix as well. Remember, this screen is live, but the time at the moment set by London, 15.652 seconds, holding by 0.437, so just under half a second behind Effetto Skiers Matilda Field. Then you can see it was Van Shaw. The riders coming through, though, Category 2 and Category 1 at a similar pace. And if they're traveling at a similar pace, you would expect Category 2 to be working harder than Category 1 to do that same pace.
Well, Logically, yes.
But, and here's a big but, there's a bigger group of Category 2 than there is a Category 1, so that will be aiding them.
It will do indeed, because the draft will help them. And it often is quite interesting because people say, well, hold on a minute, how did they win the sprint? Because their watts per kilo was lower than the person in second place. And that's all about drafting. That's all about dynamics. That's all about where you are in the group when you start your sprint. Well, Stefani Piccolo is in this group of Category 3 riders. She's one of the strong women in Category 3. And you can see how dark it is where Piccolo is riding.
Brazil. It's absolutely, I mean, Brazil is a hotbed of cycling talent and great events as well. From the BMX World Cup to the Mountain Bike World Cup to some great riders in the men's and the women's esports come from Brazil. Really, and I think I'm hoping that Stefani Piccolo is not listening to this right at this moment. I think she's a rider to watch for the future because she's really good on the climbs. She looks like she's riding well. And I think we can see, I think we'll see some real, we talked about progression earlier. If you had to say to me, pick a rider, she would definitely be in my picks of people who are going to progress.
Interesting. Well, Matt has his picks for riders for the future. I think some of these riders for the future may be thinking about today as well, because Alzat, Tukanis, Kokkonen, Hill, Piccolo, Hyde, Bergin are all in this leading group. And Kokkonen, she's got my favourite jersey on again. I always have Novelin Kokkonen jersey envy. But Kokkonen, also, you need leg envy because she is one strong rider as well. And she really knows how to race tactically too. So Kokkonen, Hyde, Bergin, De Silva, all at the front of this group. This Category 3 group is really starting to shed riders, though.
It's shifting today. We are, look, the 26 minutes in here. We're at 17K. They are absolutely motoring, and we know it's a sort of, it's age old, isn't it? That you get a fast stage, you get a really quick stage, a flat stage, and if you've got climbers, you're going to have a hard time. When we're seeing Jennifer Ellis, an absolutely class rider, she's chasing at the moment back from the group in front, 46 seconds back on riders like Bergen and Jones, 19 on Ella Vink. These are riders that we know are super strong. We've got Jennifer Ellis on our screen.
This is the challenge. When you've got a fairly flat first 22 kilometres, any inattention, any loss of concentration, you lose the group you're not getting back on, because that group are really motoring.
And it can be something as simple, a dropped phone, somebody shuts the door, you look over your shoulder. It can be, it could be that. It literally, the curtain blows at the wrong time behind you, and you're just distracted just that little bit, and then you have to fight on. And also, I think the other thing we've got to remember is we know Jennifer Ellis was riding in the GCC, where she pulled out some brilliant rides in there as well. And coming off a 5-day stage race, I think we're also at that point where you're going to be thinking, right, regroup, start to rebuild. And it could well be that we're seeing that as well from a lot of our riders who rode the GCC, the Gulf Corporation Council race, the stage race, the 5-day stage race on MyWhoosh.
But as we always regularly talk about, you cannot be on top form every single Sunday, 52 weeks of the year. You have to have some downtime, and we have to see this natural progression.
Do you want to tell Jeremy Prado that? Well, she's probably the exception to that rule.
I don't know. But Prado, Walkenhurst, London, Jaramillo, Smithers, Mabin, Sanchez and Kong, all in this leading group. In fact, there is Jeremy Prado on our screen, just to prove that she is working and working hard, and she is indeed, because Prado right on the front of this group, in this Category 2 group. They're motoring just shy, between 45 and 50 kilometres an hour at the moment, but it is a downhill section through these caves. They're coming up at 15.3 kilometres to the next sprint section, which they will very shortly see.
Can't wait to see how Germany and the rest of this group get on when we make that transition from the flatlands to the climbs at that 22-kilometre marker. Now, Category 2 in the subterranean world, making the way in through the sprint in the caverns over the boardwalk. Category 1 heading back in. It's almost ominous. It's almost Lord of the Rings-esque, this run in to the caves, heading in almost to the mines of Moria. As you come in, will they manage, though, to make their way through and come out of the other side? Well, Category 1 now coming into that big rock face that signifies they're going to go diving underground and go past our pens where the riders started. So they've literally done their loop out and round on the flatlands. They're going to go in through the mountain, and when they come out the other side, then time will be ticking down as they come out. They'll go through the Sandgirl sprint and then the Monpok City sprint, and then we're on to the climbs. Only one sprint actually in the flat rolling bumpy section, and for anybody who has not watched the show before on Paso Alto, we will constantly refer to the flat rolling bumpy section as the FRB section. That is so named by the one and only Professor Emma Martin, namer of the FRB section.
Well, Valencia is on our screen at the moment. She's part and parcel of this leading group of Category 4 riders. Now, Category 4 were the first riders out of the start pen, and Valencia part and parcel of this group of what looks like 9 riders. They're at 21 kilometres into this 35-kilometre race. They are going to be the first group of racers on to the Medellin City climb. You can see it on the top right-hand corner of your screen. The climb is coming. They've not got far to go. There will be a polka dot banner on the road signifying the start of the section. She's with Narvaez, Hamilton, Sarasu, Alzat, Vasquez, Lenore, Arreos is in there. So is Ferron. Wow.
Big group. Real big group, and I think it's going to really explode. We're going to do the right-hand turn in a moment that takes us onto the climb. If you look at the left-hand side of your screen, you can see that radar view. You can see that big horseshoe turn that comes up. That's the climb going up and over the top of the road that they're on now. So they turn right off this road. You go up, you go round a big sweeping left onto the climb. That's where the gradient comes in, and then you're climbing, and you know that you've got to get up to Medellin City before it's going to ease off and go over the bridge at the very top of that climb. Bit further back, the last group of leaders on the road, Category 1 leaders, making inroads into the riders in front. And as we can see at the moment, we're in with Erica Harmson, our South African rider, I think, if my flag recognition is correct there.
New to the Sunday Race Club this week, along with Jen Reel and Lucy Harris, the South African mountain biker.
And am I right in thinking she rode Cape Epic?
Yes, so long distance mountain bike events in South Africa.
Stage race that you camp in between the stages.
Yeah, absolutely epic. And fabulous to have her on board the Sunday Race Club.
Definitely, and we see lots of riders from lots of different backgrounds riding Cape Epic, like we see them coming and riding the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, and I think that parallel is going to be very interesting to see how she goes. And we've got a lot of great mountain bikers who race the Sunday Race Club, and it suits. I think that big effort that they're putting in.
High cadence.
And let's see if that cadence is going to be matched here. Now, on the front here, we have got Sarasu on the front in Category 4, our leader on the road, number 1 of all the riders still left racing at this stage on the Sunday Race Club into the climb here already at 22.3k and starting to open a pretty substantial gap, 10 seconds at the moment to the riders behind. This is a good move.
Well, Funichiko and Sarasu, we saw her putting in some phenomenal climbing efforts, very, very focused climbing efforts on the GCC 5-day stage race. Talking about stage race, there was no camping overnight between that. But she did show us some really strong climbing form, and she's putting that to use today now that they've transitioned into the Medellin City climb. The rest of this group really need to think about what they're going to do now, because for me, you've got to be within about 15 to 20 seconds of the leader at the top of this climb to stand a chance of winning this race.
And I think it's really deceptive because we can see Sarasu on our screens as the small avatar in front. Natalia Idzik, who we've got on the inset screen there, is in this group. And we've got Natalia Idzik's view. This is what Natalia Idzik is seeing. She's looking at that thinking the distance is not far. Now, it isn't far, but I'm sure Idzik, because she's so experienced, also knows that time-wise, that's a big time gap.
Well, and also that you've got to pace your own race.
Yeah.
You know,
can't just respond to every attack because you're just going to go. You're going to go to pieces.
And sometimes you have to force, or you have to let the other riders in the group chase, and trust that they will.
Trust issues.
well, Matt's
when
got
racing.
Trust issues on the other side of the
definitely.
studio. This is the Category 1 leading pack, and you can see they are in the caves at the moment on the boardwalk and about to come up to the next sprint section. This is going to be the San Gil sprint. And we can see this pack. Well, they've just rolled through this sprint. That's the end of the San Gil sprint. This is a steady pace. So our Category 1 leading pack are rolling through at the moment around 3 watts per kilo. And you can see the real range of pace here. But this is a steady group today.
Steady is not the word. I've just had a little look down my timing screen to try and find them, and I've given up. It's too far down for me.
Yes,
it's a long way. Where are they?
Van Hove sets the fastest time in Category 1 in 38th position with an average watts per kilo of 3.4.
Which for Category 1 we know
Zone
is
2.
Yes, just
well.
Yeah.
I might be being a little facetious there. But
this is racing, and this for me is key about racing. You choose what you want to do, and you battle when you do. Look at Beltran. I mean, she's clearly chosen 210 watts, big kick out there, 4 watts per kilo. Look at Van Shaw, 4.2 watts per kilo there. They're going through that sprint time in 27 seconds. And you can see, I think also, that there's a race on in Category 2 at that stage in the race as well, because they are right up there, all of them.
And there's a big group in Category 2. So Beltran, Van Shaw, Lundin, Prado, Yaramillo, Whitelaw, Montgomery, Hill, Bonilla and Gorea are the top 10 riders through that sprint section today. A plethora of Category 2 with a smattering of Category 3.
There you go, today's words for your plethora and smattering.
There we go. I have been reading a book about dictionaries recently.
Oh,
and
okay.
The Oxford English Dictionary and the 40 years it took to put together.
Okay, interesting. If you're into your English dictionary words, grammar and literature, I guess. There we go. Right, I'm going to go back to racing because that's what I think about probably far too often, rather than necessarily dictionaries and words. But we will see if my vocabulary is as extensive as is required today on the race. We will find out. 4 race categories underway. 5 minutes separating 4 to 3 at the start. 5 minutes between 3 and 2. 5 minutes between 2 and 1. Meaning that Category 1 are our last riders on the road at the moment. Category 2 in front. Then Category 3 are leaders though. Category 4 in the red at the moment. Sarasu leading all of our riders out onto the climb. The furthest rider in terms of distance covered is Sarasu with 23.4 kilometers, but we've got riders all over the course. The last group of leaders on the road are Category 1. They are at 17.4 kilometers, and they are not yet into the climb, whereas Categories 4 and 3 are both on to the climb. Category 2 at the moment have not yet hit the climb. However, they are about to do the last kilometre that takes them into the right-hand turn and on to that ascent. Category 1, that group still all together. And I think, realistically, there ain't no race until they get to the climb.
Oh, Matt's making a prediction, and anybody who follows the Sunday Race Club knows...
Sorry, but there hasn't been so far.
Well, anybody who follows the Sunday Race Club will know Matt is very shy at making a race prediction, but Van Hove, Holcroft, Bassoni, McCarthy, Engstrom, Harmsen, Menendez.
I just realised what you said. I'm very shy at making a race prediction. So that's maybe because I've got burnt too many times before. We'll see. Emma, of course, is much bolder in that. Well, I'm glad I didn't say that Catherine Furr was my out-and-out favourite for the win of the World Championships this year. Then,
Is
but
she?
oh no, I said that again, didn't I? Did I actually say that out loud
Well,
this
I
time?
think there will
There
be
we
some
go.
riders in the mix who would like to make Matt's prediction not come true, but I'm sure Fur would love for it to be correct. Well, Van Hove, Bassoni, McCarthy, Larson, Engstrom, Kasani are all in the mix. So is Kolczynski at the moment, and Tiffany Penner doing a great ride at the moment. This is the end of the next sprint section. There are 18.3 kilometres, so this is the Monpok City Sprint. This is the last sprint before they get to the climb, and yet again, Category 1 not contesting the sprint, though what also tells you nobody else was contesting the sprint either, because Jacina Menendez rolls through in 18th place, and I say rolls through at 2.7 watts per kilo.
It comes just too close to the start of the
does.
climb. If you're not a regular rider, if you're a reviewer, and you trying to work out why there's no sprint going on, why we're seeing people like Navarez go through here, leading this a Category 4 rider who you would think Category 4 shouldn't be at the top, it should be Category 1. It's quite simply because none of these riders really are absolutely contesting this sprint. There's some kicks going in. There's some really not good rides from riders, maybe just stretching their legs out. But as a whole, most of the riders, when you have got a big effort coming, you're not going to put it into something that maybe could cost you effort at such a critical time, which comes very shortly
after. And
take
a look at the time, 0.8 of a second between the top 9 riders there. Yeah. So Navarez, Herrero, Wagner, Smithers, Ferron, Sanchez, Davidson, Montgomery, Montoya, Gurria are the top 10 riders. Class goes to Sylvia Gurria, though, because she's been 9th or 10th every sprint.
Consistent. Will exactly. She be the same at the top on our sprint, which is the Amazon Rainforest sprint over the top? We will see. Now, we're in with Category 4, and Sarasu has been pulled back. That 10-second gap, well, they haven't left her there at the moment. That group is still up there with a gap to the chasing riders behind, and the chasers are about to see Category 3 overtake them, and they're starting to close in on the Category 4 leaders. In Category 2, well, they are on the climb at 22.5k. They're coming into the tight hairpin turn that you see on the map, actually, as you run in to the climb. This tight left-hand turn here, we're in with German Prado, who is tapping out the rhythm on the front, 5.3 watts per kilo. So the sprint wattage was less than the climb wattage at the moment, and you've got to hold that climb wattage, so the pressure is on now. Category 3, Emma, this leading group is a long train. Yeah. They're coming, and they're overtaking all but the leaders now.
Well, for me, this is looking like there's around 6 riders in contention now in this Category 3 race, because this train is really stretching. It's got a little bunch on the front, but they are really motoring now. 8 Category 4 riders are ahead of them, and they are on the right-hand side of your screen. So on the right-hand side of your screen is the leading group of Category 4 riders. There are 8 of them in there at 24.5 kilometres. Alzette, Vasquez, Navarez, Sarasu, Idzik, Ferron, Cynthia Michelle Navarez is in there as well. And one other rider, there we go, it is Hamilton. I thought it may well be. And then on the left-hand side of your screen, this is the leading, what now looks like 5 riders, because Alzat is 6 seconds off the back here of Category 3 riders. And they are 100 metres behind the leaders of Category 4. You can just see them about to go round the corner in front of those Category 3 riders ahead. This is going to be interesting, because it's looking like Category 3 are going to go past the front of Category 4 way before they get to the top of this climb.
And this means that it limits the options in terms of jumping on board, because the top of this climb is at 27.4k. If you are a Category 4 rider being caught, the odds are that although you know these riders are coming, you're going to find it incredibly difficult to jump on board with them as they come past and sit at the pace of the Category 3 leaders. But Category 4 riders are very good at jumping on board. They get a lot of practice. They get to feel how it is when a rider will be in their group. You've got a big group here of leaders in Category 4, and that says to me at the moment in Category 4 that they're now thinking about what they're going to do between here and the top. This is pacing. This is sitting at a pace. This is not attacking just like some gung-ho lunatic.
But
This really is smart riding.
This is a good climbing pace, though, already for these Category 4 riders. 8 riders in contention at the moment. They're still a long way from the finish. There's still more than 10 kilometres to go.
Yep. You can't afford to go like an absolute idiot at this stage. It's just not going to work.
No, we've seen riders blow. We've seen riders try and jump on with a leading group who come past them. We've seen them try and push. We've seen them get a gap, and then we've seen them blow and not win the race.
Not win the race. They lose minutes, days. We have to start a new calendar
to get lose days.
I don't know. I think they probably do climb off some people. Well, I know they do. And that is easy to do now. Here we go. Front of the race is coming together a little bit further down the hillside here in Category 3. Novelin Kekkonen working hard here to stay with Claudia Hyde here, working the way up. They've just been distanced by that leading group who are up the road here. And Kekkonen at the moment just pushing on. You can see she's focused on getting on the wheels of Hyde at the moment. And it's always easier, isn't it, when you've got something to focus. I mean, I've lost count the number of times I've been on a climb, and all I've done is think about looking at the back wheel of the rider in front and not lose that wheel, literally staring at the rear hub, thinking, don't lose the wheel, don't lose it. I mean, anything could have happened around me. There could have been a party going on or anything. I could have been up till 2 a.m. But do you know what? It wouldn't matter because it'll be there. I'll be there looking at that hub. And that's where being with a good climber really can make a difference if you're having a bad day.
Well, while the leading group of 5 Category 3 riders go past and clear that Category 4 leading group. This is the Category 1 leading group, and they've just gone under the polka dot banner, signifying the bottom of the climb. Or should I say, signifying the start of the race.
Because on the attack goes Catherine Fuhr, and the response instantly comes from behind. Van Hopersoni, Kaczynski, all chasing hard. They weren't going to let that pace increase and take Catherine Fuhr clear of the group. Will Fuhr be able to use her skills that she's trained herself to be able to climb? She really put a big training block in about a year ago now in her climbing, and it paid off in bucket loads at the moment, and has done since she did it. She's become a much more rounded rider, which is one of the reasons why she's such a danger on all types of courses. Now, onto the climb. This group I expect to split as they come up and round on this first one, because as Emma said earlier on, the last climb, it's shorter, it has less gradient, it is an easier climb, and it's almost like basically like a 3.5K slightly uphill sprint. Well, it pretty much is, isn't it? It's like a pursuit almost.
It is. And what we do normally see is this first climb. It's the Medlin City climb that does the damage in this race. If you can survive the Medlin City climb, what we tend to then see are riders coming together and groups sweeping up groups onto that Bogota climb. Well, Altamirano is one of the riders at the front of this Category 3 pack. 6 riders still in contention because Takanas has got back onto the group. So Bergin, Hill, Altamirano, Piccolo, Takanas, all in this group.
Sorry, I've just got bike envy at the moment. It's a very lovely Colnago that Altamirano is out of the saddle and kicking down on there as she's on this climb. That is going to be putting all of that power through the back wheel, and you need it on here because this is a relatively steady gradient, but when you come around these bends, if you're on the inside of the bend, 11.5%, that is absolutely brutal when you come up the climb, and that's really going to break the rhythm up, isn't it?
It is going to break the rhythm up, but I'm looking at the names of those 6 riders in that leading group, Matt, and I can't pick a top 5.
Excellent. And you spend lots of time studying all the riders, their form.
I do.
I have to say that Emma's love of stats often comes in very, very handy when we are looking at who's doing what here. Now, here we go. This is Category 2. I think this is going to be literally about 5 riders, 5 riders as they come up here. We're in with German Prado, and I'll tell you something. The rider who is the Philippines national champ many times over, at the moment is really having to work harder here. You can see the effort coming in out of the saddle, stamping tamps down on those pedals, really working well. She's got that national champs bands on the shorts there, indicating a champion.
Fabulous to see,
It
isn't
is
it?
brilliant to see. And I'll tell you something, I love the fact that somebody of the class of German Predator comes and races week in, week out, and really gets a great race. Each and every week we see these riders having amazing racing. Might be slightly jealous, to be honest.
Well, at least you get to watch it, Matt. Sanchez, Prado, Smithers, and London, and Hermansen is in there as well. That is one class category 2 field. And you can start to see on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen the multicoloured nature of this climb, because all of the riders are really starting to mix now. Fua, Kolczynski, Menendez, Bassoni are in the mix here, and there indeed is Roberta Bassoni with the fan on her as she continues to push. This is a steep section. It's 7.3, 7.6, 7.8 percent at the moment as they go round the corner, and this is the leading group in the category 1 race. Now it's looking like they have shed some riders on this climb, but there is still a number of riders in contention as Kolczynski and Bassoni push on at the front, both class climbers.
Yeah, there's nobody. If you're in this group now, at this stage, you've got to be a class climber, because we've waited to the climb, and now this is where the climbs, those riders know that they can push on, and they're doing an amazing job. I mean, Roberta Bassoni's holding the wheels almost here of two of the big hitters in terms of esports championships, in terms of climbing ability and racing ability. And I think it's showing just how good Bassoni is on this climb. Jessenia Menendez is also doing a really, really good ride as well. But these riders at the moment, these gaps are opening. They're yo-yoing at the moment, and this is going to be telling as they go through now. Soderstrom just making a way up over the top here of Bassoni. Holcroft is in attention as well. The gap to the leading two just starting to stretch. I think we're going to see a response coming in. That's category 1. They're a little bit further down the climb from our category 3 riders, who are the leaders on the road at the moment. Philippa Hill from Holly Bergin, from Stefani Piccolo, from Beltran, Alta Marino to Conus in there. And then we go back from our 6 leaders to Esdale, who is 24 seconds down at this stage, bearing in mind that at 26.7 kilometers, we still have a fair old distance. It's 27.4 to get to the top of this climb. And from the climb banner, actually, there is another push still over the top of the bridge. It's not the very top of the actual ascent. There's a little bit of a push over the top from the banner. So there is still time to gain or lose even more distance as you go up in that last section.
Well, I just think it's absolutely amazing, because the push going on here is so strong. And look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders almost looking like they are sat on top of each other. So we've got Kolczynski, Fua, Menendez, Bassoni, and Soderstrom as well in there.
And those two riders leading out, Kolczynski and Fua, I mean, they are now 11 and 10 seconds up the road at the moment. So Fua at the bottom of those riders on the left-hand side there has 11 seconds on Menendez and Bassoni at the moment. They are the riders chasing. You just see Jessenia Menendez in the center of those riders, Bassoni up at the top of the screens, all of them working hard. Just taking a little bit of a look at the pedal cadence here between those riders and their movement on the bike, and they are different styles definitely between all 3 riders. Really interesting. Fua powering away up there, Bassoni kicking out a rhythm. Menendez is tapping away almost up that climb, dancing up the climb with a higher pedal cadence there, ticking along. And I think it really does show you that whatever your riding style, when we go for a course like this, it doesn't matter what your riding style is. If it works, you use it and you race to your strengths on this climb, because it's so critical in this race. You could almost say that this whole race could be won or lost in what is basically 5.5 kilometers of climbing.
Yeah, and 5.5 kilometers of climbing is fairly short for Roberta Bassoni, because I was all right. I've just been taking a look at her results out on the road and out on the Gran Fondos. 172 kilometres of racing, 415 metres of climbing, and she's absolutely smashing it out there on the podium. This year she has been absolutely phenomenal outdoors, but very, very long distances.
So building a fantastic base because she's a Northern European based rider. So as we move through the summer and in towards the winter, she's going to probably be focused more indoors and building a massive base to work on there. Now, up at the top of the climb, we've just gone underneath the polka dot banner. We're going over the bridge at the top over the gorge, and you can see that Lorena Beltran is the fastest rider to date up that climb. She takes away top spot, and the polka dot skin suit in category 3 from Philippa Hill by a 0.404 of a second, so just under half a second between first and second on the climb. Piccolo, Bergin, Alta Marino, all very close, as is Tacona Sinestel. They are the 6 riders who are there over the top now, but the gap has opened, and we've got to remember the gap is back from Bergin to Estelle, 43 seconds back to the chasers. Our race winner should come from these 6 riders. Remember, of course, on Sunday Race Club, prizes on qualifying are for the top 5 riders in each category individually. So the riders want that win. They want that top 5 position. At the moment, the rider in category 1 who is setting the pace on that top spot at the moment, if she could hold it to the top, is Kristen Kolczynski, 6 watts per kilo at the moment. Now, you can't quite see the gap back to first yet. I think he's literally just off the screens behind, but I think that's going to be really interesting, this battle to the top. Kristen Kolczynski, for those of you who have maybe not been watching the show, we've let you know, because basically she has been setting course records in the United States of America for hill climbs, week after week, race after race. The moment it goes uphill, she's setting them. And that is whether it's a short, sharp climb or it's a long enough climb and a fast enough climb that you could do it on tri-bars and a time trial bike rather than a lightweight climbing bike.
And for me, what is really interesting about that, Matt, is she is having to learn how to ride and race outdoors. And you often see her, follow her on her social media pages, because you often see her posting about learning the technique of riding and racing outdoors, because she's an indoor specialist.
Yep, and every single discipline, it has its own skill set that you need to dial in and that you need to learn. And it doesn't matter whether you're a road rider, mountain biker, track rider, unicyclist, indoor, artistic cycling, whatever it is, you do need to learn those. And we see that. That's why we see riders having to make that transition. Part of that transition is going to be going off and riding on the new races that have just been launched. Now, we can bring a few details. I don't know whether it's quite exclusively, but it's pretty exclusively to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. The MyWhoosh Classics are going to be launched every Wednesday and Saturday, 2 time zones being covered. It's a points race format. The race is going to be about 30 kilometers long, so about 45 or so minutes to about an hour, dependent on the course. All the climbs are short, 1 kilometer short or less. The races are going to kick off on Saturday the 27th. So a good leg sharpener for the Sunday Race Club. They are premium events. So if you're going to look to accreditate yourself for the Worlds, if you want to do that, as long as you dual record, you will be able to use it for that, but you don't have to dual record to enter them. So if you want to just go out and have a fast race, Wednesdays, Saturdays, coming up, MyWhoosh Classics, and they're going to be key for riders like for, I think, and for all of the riders on the course to sharpen their racing up and get that racing experience, really packing it in here on MyWhoosh. So please do jump on board that. Jump on board the Flamme Rouge Racing event this coming Tuesday. And of course, get on the open qualifiers. See, give it a crack. You don't know till you try.
Well, you've got to be in it to win it. And one way to get in it is to get on the start line of those open qualifiers.
I entered the World's Masters track with no chance of winning it whatsoever. I thought, I'm going to come and have a go. I'm going to see how I get on. I set some personal best times on my training going in, and I got 11th at the Worlds. I was really pleased with that. It was also last of the riders in my age category.
You've got to be in it to win it.
I would never. I absolutely was the best thing, best choice, best decision. Because to do that, I rode with the world's best. I was riding against ex-professional, ex-world champions, and the current world champion. And do you know what? Go out and try it. You don't know. You might come last. You might come first. You might come anywhere in the middle. But you won't know till you try, and you always regret it if you don't do it.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Never leave anything you fancy doing undone if you can help it. Now, talking about leaving things undone, this is the chase group at the moment in Category 1. Kolchinsky and Fua are down the road, or should I say up the road.
Yeah, and split as well.
Well, yeah, they are indeed, because Kolchinsky's in P1. She's 12 seconds ahead of Fua. Then this is the chase group with Koinstinen, Holdcroft, Menenses, MacArthur, and Soderstrom is just off the back. So this is really interesting.
Yeah, let's see who is going to be able to pick up the pace, who's going to jump into those positions. Now, further up the road, our leaders on the road, Category 3, have done the FRB, the flat rolling bumpy section. They've gone through the Amazon Rainforest Sprint. That is an upper sprint. They've hit the polka dot band and they're on to the climb. Beltran, who is the rider who is the fastest up climb, number one, our second category climb, has gone through with that leading group, with the fastest sprinter who will take away that jersey at the end of today. That's Philippa Hill. However, big however, they still have that final climb to go. Kolchinsky is already at the top of the Medellin City climb. She is on fire today. She's taking off faster than the Saturn V rocket.
Well, she has indeed. And 5 riders at the head of this race at the moment are on to the final climb, the Bogota climb. Those are the 5 leaders on the road in Category 3. This is Catherine Fua going underneath the polka dot banner on the Medellin City climb. She's currently lying P2 in Category 1 behind Kristen Kolchinsky, who is up the road. This is the chase group of Holdcroft, Koinstinen, Menenses, McCarthy 4 seconds back, Mika Soderstrom just slightly further back from that as well. Phenomenal climbing today, Matt.
It is, and 15 seconds the gap between Kolchinsky and Fua. They went into this climb together, basically all of those top 5 riders in Category 1. They came in together at the same time. So those gaps, in fact, all top 6. So the gaps that have opened up there have happened on this climb. 15 seconds to Fua. It is not all over yet. Fua could pull that back. Kolchinsky gets the pacing wrong. Fua can pull it back. Fua has saved something and puts in a big effort coming across the FRB and on the final climb. She could pull that back. That is still not decisive. The group behind have the advantage of the draft. The 20 seconds from Fua's back wheel. This could come back together. It is still all open. You can see on our map on the left-hand side, those yellow dots, the yellow dot with the triangle in it, that is Kolchinsky. Behind is a single dot of Fua, but there are riders all the way round and they are not far behind. They are chasing hard. Category 1, the race is on. They are on the way through the flat rolling bumpy section between the Medellin City climb and the Bogota climb. Left-hand side of your screen, front of the race, Stefani Piccolo ahead of Holly Bergin, ahead of Lorena Beltran, ahead of Philippa Hill, but there is a group chasing of Beltran, Hill and Bergin. 3 riders chasing Piccolo. I hate to say I told you so.
Well, it's really interesting, isn't it?
I don't actually. I'll take that back. I told you so.
Piccolo pushes on here. Hill, Bergin, Beltran doing the chasing. Takana's just distance from that group as well. So this is absolutely unfolding on these final stages of the Paso Alto today in Category 3. Alta Marino now 44 seconds back. Lucy Estelle further back than that. And so is Alzat. The Category 4 riders that they went past, well, they are no longer in sight as Philippa Hill. Take a look at that. Hill puts in a big dig and comes up and past Piccolo. Piccolo responds. She's on our screen at the moment. This group, I think, are going to come back together again because Beltran is coming across. Bergin is trying to come with her. Takanas is the rider missing out here as Piccolo continues to push.
Piccolo put in a big effort there. She sits back down again as the gradient eases. You've got a fast section here. Now, they distance Bergin for about 3 seconds. Will Bergin come back on again? She's got to push really hard here because what will happen, the speed's going to pick up here. I think she's got herself back on to the train here. It's Hill leading, it's Piccolo in second, it's Beltran in third, Bergen in fourth. They are pretty much back together again, but what damage has been done to the legs of Piccolo attacking? What damage has been done to the rest of the riders trying to close it down?
Well, I'll tell you that it's really interesting, isn't it? Now, back down the mountain, the Category 2 riders are continuing to progress, and you can see them working their way through the Category 4 riders on the road. Now, hot in from Nice, I have had a message.
Go.
A number of our Category 4 riders are out. Well, our Category 4 and Category 2 women are out in Nice having a road trip to the final stages of the Tour de France. Now, a certain Kristen Hamilton has not got her 2 qualifying rides in, so is currently racing from Nice.
So that she can get a qualifying ride in. Fantastic to see that. Brilliant stuff. In Category 2, interesting group at the front, London, Hermansen, Anchor, all in that mix at the moment. We'll go back to those riders because they're nearly up towards the front of the race. Meanwhile, we're in with our chasers here. They are closing down on Catherine Feuer. This was a 20-second gap between Catherine Feuer and Holcroft, Menendez, Coiston, and Co., who are chasing. The chasing group are on their way. And you can see that. Look at that.
Look at that.
The speed through the sprint there. Menendez, Coiston, and Holcroft are chasing through. The race was on in Category 2 as it came through. Yep. You can see that because you've got Smithers, Hermansen, Lundin, Van Shaw, Davidson, and Bonner-Miller. Again, absolute that race. Once we hit the climb, once we hit the flat rolling bumpy section, the FRB, onto that Bogota, it's like somebody pulls a pin and the whole race explodes.
It is indeed, and the race is exploding and it's unfolding in front of us as all of our 4 race categories work their way to the finish of this race. Now, 35 kilometres of racing, 537 metres of climbing. The major climb, the Medellin City climb, is the first climb at just shy of 22 kilometres into this course. This is the Bogota climb. This is the second climb. It is 3.5 kilometres with an average gradient of 2.9%. And Kolchinsky, well, she is motoring and on her way towards the finish line.
She's through and underneath. I'm waiting for the time gap because I think it's rolling round about the 30-second marker at the moment between Kolchinsky and the Feuer group. And it is a group because Feuer has been, I think, pulled back. Now, let's just jump in with Dana Wagner in Category 2. We did say we're going to jump in with our Category 2 riders. They are spread over the course. Dana Wagner here on the climb really is spinning those legs around at the moment, and you can just see as we start to pick up the gradient, she's going to be pushing on. She's chasing Walkenhurst and Whitelaw in front, so she's got targets to chase. We know that Wagner's a real fierce competitor. She's just seen Kristen Kolchinsky go through, the leader in Category 1 with a 30-second gap. So she's held basically the same time to the chasing group, but Feuer has dropped back and joined them.
Well, Feuer has dropped back and joined them, but Kolchinsky's on the left-hand side of your screen. On the right-hand side of your screen is the front of the Category 2 race, and it's Lundin, Smithers, and Hermansen. They've just gone past the front of the Category 4 race. That's Hamilton from Nice, Vasquez, and Narvaez. So Hamilton pushing on there. Really interesting to see these races unfolding as Sarah Lundin is on our screen. She's the rider on the front of this group with Smithers. Hermansen now just distanced 3 seconds back.
So the riders in Category 2, not that far from coming to the top of the climb. Category 4 about to go underneath our, Category 3 about to go underneath our climb banner. So they're right in the very front of the race. They're making the way up. London, though, here, really putting the pressure on Smithers. They've cracked Hermansen, the polka dot skin suit wearer. There is time for her to come back, but it is running out fast. Our riders are motoring. Underneath the top of the Bogota climb has gone Hill, Bergin, Beltran, and Piccolo in that order in terms of climb. And you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, Philippa Hill now has 300 meters to go, but Holly Bergin just puts a massive effort in, and Bergin, after being off the back of this group after that attack by Piccolo, has come back past, has closed up onto the wheels of Hill. Hill has the polka dot skin suit in front. Bergen responding each and every time. They're now up at nearly 5 watts per kilo on these pushes. Philippa Hill is leading. Right-hand tight turn. Sweeping left-hand bend. And within 4 seconds are 3 riders at the moment. Philippa Hill leading. Bergen in second. Beltran in third. Piccolo's now been distanced to fourth. Can Bergen do anything about Hill in these last few meters? Hill is kicking, Hill is pushing, Hill has got the sprint here. Philippa Hill is going to take the win here. First rider over the line, Category 3, Philippa Hill, here in qualifier number 3 in July. What a ride. She takes away the win. She's got the polka dot skin suit as well. She's got the green skin suit, the best sprinter, climber and race winner ahead of Bergen and Beltran.
Well, Hill, Bergen and Beltran, the first 3 in Category 3. The first 3 riders over the line today here in Colombia. Piccolo just gone over the line in 4th place as we drop back in with Sarah Lundin. She's currently leading the Category 2 race. She's sitting behind the rest of the top 10 in Category 3. But it's Lundin now, 7 seconds from Smithers, 12 seconds from Hermansen.
It's not all over by any stretch of the imagination at 700, now 600 meters to go. 7 seconds is just about doable, but behind Smithers, it's 4 seconds back to Hermansen. They are closing, and the top 5 battle, well, 4th and 5th places, Sanchez and Rona are side by side on the climb as well. These riders are going to fight all the way to the line, to the summit of the race. They'll get 537 meters of climbing under their wheels at the end of this race, the 35 kilometers that took them across 22k of flatlands before we hit the mountains and things started to spice up. This, though, is brewing up to be one heck of a finish here. Smithers continues to push. Lundin, though, we've seen the effort. We've been in with her on the screen. We've seen the effort she's putting in. It looks like it's paying off. Can she hold it to the line? We're now at 300 meters to go. So the same point that we went in to see our Category 3 finishers. Lundin, though, has a bigger gap. Behind, you can see Hermansen is pushing here. She wants to come back. She has lost the polka dot skin to Lundin. Lundin's climb up the final climb, the Bogota climb, has handed her the polka dot skin suit. Will she add the yellow skin suit as our race winner? I think Hermansen cannot answer the speed, the power, and the pace of Sarah Lundin. Sarah Lundin, the Swedish rider riding on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, comes into those last few meters. She can see the banner, that UCI banner. The race finish for the Sunday Race Club comes. Sarah Lundin takes victory in Category 2. What a ride, what a win. Just reward for the effort. Now the sprint is on behind. Smithers and Hermansen are battling it out. Marcel Smithers has gone over the top in the last few meters. She takes 2nd place, and I think Hermansen is going to have to settle for 3rd place here today.
Well, whilst Hermansen settles for 3rd, Kulczynski continues to push. The chase is on behind in Category 1 for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th, and it is one group fighting. But out front at the moment is Kristen Kulczynski. She went at the base of the climb off of the attack of Catherine Fuhr. The chase group are 30 seconds back, and Fuhr and Holdcroft are part and parcel of that chase. But it's Kristen Kulczynski now coming up to the top of the polka dot banner, signifying the top of the Bogota climb, and 500 meters to go.
Meanwhile, we have the run for the line here in Category 4. Kirsten Hamilton, Vasquez and Narvaez, they're the riders in the battle, but it's going to be Kristen Hamilton who's going to take. Kirsten Hamilton comes over the line, Category 4 race winner in the qualifier race number 3. Category 4 has been a fantastic battle today.
It has indeed, and she takes that win inspired by the finish of the Tour de France in Nice. Now that's commitment for you to take your turbo and your bike to watch the final stage and jump on board the Sunday Race Club. Well, she jumped on board the Sunday Race Club today. This is Kulczynski. She's on her run for the line. The chase is on behind with Fuhr. Menendez, Holdcroft and Coinstonen, but Kulczynski is going to come round the corner first.
Here she comes, the hill climb specialist, the rider who has really proved that when it goes uphill, she's the rider to be reckoned with. She's proved it certainly here today. Kristen Kulczynski, the rider from the United States of America, hits the line, the winner in Category 1 on qualifier race number 3, the final qualifier in July. She comes in ahead of Catherine Fuhr. Fuhr from Switzerland, our rider coming up to the line. She's going to take a second place here today. And another great ride by the rider from Switzerland, ahead of Yesenia Menezes, who wins that battle there for the line with Holdcroft as a came in over the line. Fantastic racing here on all our race categories. Congratulations to everybody who's finished so far. I hope you are going to be racing this hard next week, because it's an absolute flyer today.
Well, Kristen Kulczynski coming in top spot in Category 1. 1 hour, 3 minutes and 39 seconds. 14 seconds ahead of Catherine Fuhr in 2. Yesenia Menezes in 3. Maria Holdcroft in 4. Mina Coinstonen in 5. Taking top spot in the Category 2 race, Sarah Lundin from Marcel Smithers, from Lisa Hermansen, Monica Rona and Stefania Sanchez. In Category 3, Philippa Hill from Holly Bergin, Lorena Beltran and Stefani Piccolo. Tucanis rounding out the top 5. Hamilton in Category 4 from Vasquez, Narvaez, Idzik and Sarasu.
Brilliant to see all of our riders in the race, taking away top 5 positions. Fantastic women's race here today in our qualifiers. Next week is our finals. Now, next week, I'm not going to be here. You're going to be in the more than capable hands of Emma Martin, who's been here today with me. And I'm going to be on Olympic duties for the BBC, so I'm not going to be here. I can't wait to watch the racing. I'm going to be really looking forward to that when I get to watch it on Sunday evening. I hope you're going to stay and watch the men's race with us, though, and then be back next week. But from Emma, from myself, my pen, and all the team here at MyWhoosh, stay safe. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.